Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Priesthood Dispatches channel. You might be able to see just to my right-hand side, we have the one, the only Radio Free Mormon coming to us all the way from the western seaboard of the United States of America. How are you doing today, RFM?
I'm great. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I think it's really early where you are, and it's the afternoon, so I am getting ready to have a drink and wind down for my Friday evening. And you're just getting started with your work day.
I've got my whole Friday ahead of me.
I'm sorry about that.
Well, this
I'm,
is going to be the highlight of my Friday, I'm sure.
I hope it is. So it's Friday, the 4th of February. Welcome back to the channel. Please like and subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, whether that's my podcast or I think you're going to use the audio on yours as well, RFM.
The audio, yes, absolutely. With your kind permission, I will.
No.
And also depending on how this goes.
Well, yeah. If it's a total car crash, then you can just trash it.
Yeah, don't cock it up, okay?
No, fantastic. Okay. Well, I was going to say, if you can leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, and remember what your mama always taught you: if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Or as Mae West used to say, if you can't say anything nice about somebody, come and sit by me.
Yes. Well, interestingly enough, one of the things that I love about RFM and listening to Mormonism Live with RFM Bill Reel and now Maven, and also listening to the podcast, because I've been listening to your podcast for many a year, and something that I do at night. This might sound really creepy, sorry.
Do you really want to share this with the audience?
No, I always go to sleep to a podcast. It just chills me out. Okay. So my kids were asking who the guest was this week, and I said it's RFM, and they said, "Is that guy we hear at night every night?" And I was like, "Yeah, it probably is, because you got quite a distinctive voice, which is great, and yeah, sometimes my kids hear you, so they know you as the guy in Dad's bedroom at night."
When Dad's
So
going to sleep, yes.
yeah, so not that you. Oh man, that's gone down a really weird kind of path that you putting me
Well,
to sleep.
you're the one who brought it up.
You're more
I have been
excited than
told
that.
that a lot of people listen to my podcast in order to get to sleep. It has a certain soporific effect.
Yeah, but yeah, you made me what I am today, so thank you.
Well, you're
Maybe.
very welcome. You're very welcome. Make me proud.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're going to start with an apology. From a previous episode, I mentioned a sister missionary from Australia. I was her district leader here in the UK, and I mentioned that sister missionary may have given a blessing to a brother in need on her mission, and that there was it was a bit of a sticky situation. That sister missionary has reached out all the way from Australia. Who would have known it? 15 years later, she still wants to tell Elder PD that he was a bad boy. She's let me know that for the record, she was not the one who gave the blessing. That her and her companion went to visit a brother in the ward, less active brother, and they took, because they were very good, a chaperone with them who was a YSA sister from the ward. And it was whilst they were trying to arrange medical attention for this brother that they turned around to find the YSA sister with her arm to the square and the other hand on the gentleman's head, um, casting out, as she puts it, demons, afflictions, and sickness. So, Sister Australia, I apologize. But I think that would been quite a cool story to say to people that you've done that. You
It
know,
would be. Are sisters supposed to raise their arm to the square and cast out demons and bad things? I thought maybe they should raise their arm to the triangle.
to the triangle.
Yeah, that's for sisters, right?
Oh wow, yeah. Well, you know what? Sisters could do it so much better than we do. Like I remember whenever I gave a blessing, I had kind of a pro forma in my head. that I'd go through. Obviously, you've got the special words at the start that have to be said in the right order or it doesn't work,
Right.
and then I'd always tell them that their Lord was well pleased because that's a nice thing to say.
Yes, he's so pleased that he's smitten you with whatever it is I have to give you a blessing for.
Yeah. And did you find that you could pick up good bits from listening to other brethren give blessings? So
I think the most important thing in any blessing that's given in the church is usually the escape clause at the end. You got to
yes,
give God an out for not, performing.
yes. For me, it was, and I bless you with anything else that the Lord sees fit. What was yours?
Well, usually what it is we bless you that you'll be healed if God really, really wants it.
Or by your faith,
Yes,
because
by your faith. That's important because we want to make sure that the person, if they don't get healed, which happens, I think probably more than 90% of the time, I'm just guessing, we want to make sure that that person who doesn't get healed realizes that it's their fault.
it always is. It always is. Okay.
It's
Well,
not my fault. I did my part.
I feel like we've exercised the demon just in that moment. Yeah. Awesome. Right. Okay. Well, before we get to RFM, I want to do TikTok of the week. We have a TikTok here that I came across, and it wasn't from an ex-Mormon TikToker, but I think this one, it just really, it's amazing. It's from Saudi Arabia, where, yeah, they take their religion seriously. And this is the Olympic coverage from Saudi Arabia and what they do to keep their young men holy and clean. Just take a quick look at this.
کنیایی دورخیز میکنه سگام بر میداره میپره از روی خیلی زیبا رکورد جهانی رو بهبود میده این دونده
It
21
gets
ساله
better.
از کنیا چون مثل با منقلتون گزارش میکنیم دونده کوبایی توی خط 5 جلو افتاده دونده روس داره تغییر
For anyone listening on the podcast, on all the women's events, they have placed big black squares or asterisks over the parts of the female that are forbidden. So arms, legs, torso. So you can only see the head, the feet, and the ankles. But the technology is not amazing, and these squares are kind of slow.
رها میکنه سه بارو و بسیار زیبا ورزشکار چینی برای مدال طلای المپیک میتونیم روی کنیایی.
So
how do I get that job? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who has to sit there and reanimate the whole thing.
That's going to be a tough job.
You imagine, though, we've got the whole pawn shoulders thing, but there's young men who are just dying to catch a glimpse of a woman's calf.
Yeah, and some of the times it's not good enough, and they actually do get a glimpse.
Yeah.
But what do they do with the guy who's actually doing it? Because the guy who's doing it probably has to see something.
Yeah, so this is an interesting point. I knew a brother over here in the UK, and he wanted to, or his wife wanted to watch Game of Thrones. Are you a Game of Thrones? Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, multiple times.
So in the earlier seasons before Game of Thrones started to take itself seriously, there were quite some racy scenes. So what he did,
I didn't watch those. I just fast forwarded through those many times.
Well, what he did for his wife many times. Well, what he did for his wife is he watched it and edited it for her, so that she didn't have to watch it.
Well, that was nice. That's true love.
So yeah, so he could say now they have sex.
Perfect.
So
you're a talker.
She was kept holy and clean.
Remember that scene with the hound in the tavern? You're a talker.
Yes. Well, this is also something we're going to get onto later. He wanted all the chickens. Bring me every chicken.
That's right. I'm going to have to eat every chicken in this place.
My favorite one is Tyrion when he was speaking about God, and he referred to himself as the Lord of tits and wine
Yes.
because he drinks and he knows things.
Right. I
Yeah.
actually have a drinking glass over here that was given to me as a gift from my daughter, which has that on it. I drink and I know things. They got the most
Amazing.
powerful people in the entire world gathered together at that table. And they look over at Tyrion and say, "What do you do?" I drink and I know things.
Yes. And Varys reminds me of like the Strengthening Church Members Committee. They've just got little birdies everywhere, pulling strings because Varys is the character that is always on the council, but everything he does, because he does a lot, he kind of does behind the scenes, and you find out about later. So you've got those who the hand of the king, etc., who are all up front and doing all the politics, but the person really running the place is Varys. If he lived in Utah, he'd be a lawyer. No offense. He'd be a lawyer working for Curtin McConkie, who sits on many dubious boards within the church structure.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful show. I loved all of the seasons except for the last one, but I understand that's a common sentiment.
Oh my gosh, the last season was shocking. Did you see the image of the horse that someone drew? So
That someone drew?
yeah, they created this image, a pencil drawing of a horse, and this horse was that season 1 and 2. It was like Picasso, perfect drawing. But then as the seasons went on, the drawing got a little bit dodgier each time. So so that season 7 was just like a total mess. Here you go. I'll show it to you because that's how we roll here on Priesthood Dispatches. We like to see things in person. Now this is just going to be a Google image. Yeah. Okay. So if you can zoom in here.
I remember the white horse from the last season.
No.
Is this like Trigger? Do you
So,
even get that, by the way? That's kind of an American reference. I'm not sure if you
Trigger?
get Trigger. Yes.
No.
Famous horse over here in the States.
Okay. We'd be like Red Rum. But you can see
Red
here.
Rum? Is Red Rum the name of a horse?
Oh yeah, really famous horse here in the UK. Won the Grand National several times. Is actually buried on the finish line of the Grand National.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a steeplechase where they have to sort of jump over the mound?
Yes, yeah, that's like it's one of the oldest horse races in the world.
I know Red Rum from Stephen King, The Shining.
There you go. Maybe
You know what Red Rum spelled backward is, don't you?
Oh wow, yeah, murder. That's
Red Rum.
impressive.
Red Rum.
Wow, I've never heard that one.
Yeah.
But here you can see this horse, seasons 1 to 4, and season 5, fantastically drawn, perfectly drawn. And then as you go on season 6 and season 7 and 8, it becomes a total mess.
Is that sort of an artistic rendition of how they felt the seasons went?
Yeah, because they were absolutely shocking, let's be honest.
Yes. Kind of got bad at the end. But I did love it when everybody was wondering who's going to kill the king of the Night Walkers.
Yeah, and so for anyone listening who's not a Game of Thrones fan,
you better go watch it fast.
Yeah, spoiler, Arya Stark, where she jumps up and he grabs her by the neck, should she not have frozen? You know, because he's like Jack Frost. Anyway, we digress. Later on, if you enjoy the one-liners that RFM comes up with that stump Bill Reel consistently, I love listening to it because you'll be like to be or not to be, and Bill will be like, what?
What is that? What are you talking about?
Or Bill will just totally gloss over it and carry on, and you'll do that. You'll be like, did you get that?
I know. I'm used to not being understood or gotten to the point where I can recognize the facial expressions usually when people are just trying to shine me on as if they did get it. And sometimes they do get it, believe it or not. And but sometimes I have to check and make sure.
Hey, it's important stuff because some of it, amazingly enough, is some of the best. Shakespeare couldn't have done better himself. But what we're going to do is there's a test later on. I found a test on the internet of some of the most famous one-liners. So we're going to see how encyclopedic your one-liner
Oh
knowledge
no, I was hoping
actually
you're going to do
is.
something on Shakespeare. I might have a chance there. By the way, in Bill Reel's defense, I think he would get to be or not to be.
Oh no, absolutely. That was just
Okay.
the first one that came to mind without trying to struggle too much to come up with one.
I remember when I was on Nemo's show, we were doing a meme review, and I quoted a couple of lines from Shakespeare, and he gave me the same blank look that Bill Reel gives me sometimes.
Yeah. Well, what's fantastic is your knowledge of some of what is classic literature is so good that the rest of us, you're just so well read, which is unreal. Like,
I like to give that impression.
are you telling me you've just got a bunch of one-liners written up on the wall?
Absolutely. In fact, I want to tell the story just really quickly, which is that James Randi, the amazing Randi, famous magician, wrote a book called Flim Flam, which I read back in 1989. And it was about religious charlatans. He said something about Joseph Smith in there, but only in passing, so I let it slide. But he said that if you want to become a famous preacher, a televangelist, and make all kinds of money, what you do is you take 3 or 4 short verses from the Bible. You memorize that have general applicability, by the way.
Yeah.
They're not specific. It's not like baptism for the dead. 1 Corinthians 15:29, right? It's just general applicability. You memorize the verse, you memorize the reference, and then you work it into the conversation with other people as often as you can. And he said that if you do that, the audience will they will ascribe to you a knowledge of the scriptures that is far and above the knowledge that you actually possess.
Oh wow. I used to do a similar thing as bishop. So once a month, it fell to me to be the final speaker in sacrament meeting, and I was young, so I was out partying all the time. I was busy as a bishop.
Did you say
So
you were young, so you were out partying all the time?
yeah, I was 23, married,
Yeah.
and I worked in radio, which meant spent a lot. The radio station I worked at was very much a dance and R&B station, so a lot of events in nightclubs. I used to run those events. In fact, one of my kind of crowning moments, I say crowning moments, it was a difficult moment because I was the bishop in this town that I lived in, and I found myself running a club night in that town one weekend. And I ended up, we got the pre-bar where you wanted everyone to go. That bar had paid for advertising. Everyone goes there, has a couple of drinks, and then at a certain time, they cross the road to the club where you give them a few more drinks vouchers. They go listen to some DJs from the radio station. And my job was running these evenings as an events coordinator. And I found myself stood on a traffic island in the middle of the road with a loud, like a loud hailer, the big horn speakers that you speak into,
Yeah, we would call that a bullhorn.
a bullhorn, beckoning people from the pre-bar to the club with free drinks vouchers. And I just thought to myself, it was maybe 11 p.m. and I'm stood in the middle of the town where I'm the bishop. Screw. And I thought, what if the high priest group leader drives by right now? Well, what if one of these kind people who I'm, I'm telling jokes, I'm making comments about girls, what they're wearing, about guys, how drunk they are, and different things, just having a general laugh. But what if one of them rocks up at church in the morning as an investigator, and they're kind of like, "Is that the guy who gave me free drinks vouchers last night?"
You'd be very
Yeah,
popular. My
yeah,
concern would be whether one of the high priests comes out of the pre-bar and crosses the road.
that would have been hilarious, wouldn't it? That would have been fantastic. But yeah, so I quit radio because I couldn't put the two together. Um, so yeah, okay.
Another career squandered because of Mormonism.
Yeah, no, absolutely. After that, I went to Space Cowboy, but I was too fat for that. They said the rocket is only made for so many people, and I was taking up 2 seats. So
When you say space cowboy, are you talking about an astronaut?
yeah, like when you're a kid, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I want to be a radio DJ. Okay, can't do that. What else do you want to do? Well, I want to be an astronaut. And now Elon Musk's made it really popular, so there's even more people in the line in front of me.
Yeah, you
I
just
could
need
have
to save some money.
could have been the first man on Mars. Okay. Speaking of aerial prowess, I just want to bring this gentleman up. So we spoke earlier in the week
Excellent.
about The Simpsons and time travel. Who's the creator of The Simpsons?
Groening.
Matt.
Groening, I think. I think it's pronounced groaning.
Yeah, I wanted to say Groberg, but that's the guy who went to like
Polynesia.
yes, that's the
And the gift
Disney
of
movie.
tongues. And his
Yeah,
girlfriend was Anne Hathaway.
yeah, she was
Lucky
beautiful.
devil.
I know. And the rats ate the bottoms of his feet. But for those listening on screen now, we have a rendition of Mr. Burns slash Russell M. Nelson with a plane in the background going down with a stream of smoke coming out of it, referencing obviously the famous story now that he told that we've heard of on Mormonism Live. If you want to go back and listen to that episode, these guys do an amazing job of fact checking that experience. But Russell M. Nelson, he's given this experience in several books over the years of the death spiral on the aeroplane and the fact that he was happy with his life, but as he looked around the cabin, he saw a lady who was fearful of dying because she hadn't lived her life the way that she should have, apparently, because he knows everything about everyone by simply looking into their terrified eyes. Um, but I genuinely believe that Matt at Groening is a time traveler and that he tells us all that subliminally through The Simpsons and that he is based Mr. Burns on Russell M. Nelson. I think that's just an amazing likeness taken from the ex-Mormon group on Facebook this week. I don't have a credit because no one signed the actual picture, but if you did this, hats off.
That's fantastic. Yes, President Nelson's flight of death.
You would have thought if he's a smart guy, he'd have at least made it something where they don't actually keep logs of what happens on flights. You know,
If
it could have been like a chartered boat, you know, across the Utah lake, and on this chartered, unregistered, anonymous boat, it started to sink, and like the good little boy in Holland, he put his finger in the dike and held it shut.
Well, the problem is he gave too many details so that it could be actually pinpointed to some degree as to when this would have happened, what flight it would have been, because there's only a limited number of flights that go from Salt Lake City down to St. George he was flying to when there was a malfunction.
Yeah.
At the, what was it? At the point of no return. Right, the point
I
of no
know.
return. And I remember talking to Bill about this. You know what point of no return is? Nobody knew. It's from a movie, right? It's actually a term, but it has no application when you're flying over land. The point of no return figures prominently in a famous American movie from the 1950s with John Wayne in it called The High and the Mighty.
Okay.
And Dmitri Tiomkin did a very haunting score for it. And it's kind of famous, but I won't hum it because there's no words. So I could actually I will. It goes da 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 and so forth. Anyway, but they're flying from Hawaii to San Francisco in the movie, I think. And the deal is that at the halfway point, once you're halfway and you've got nothing but water under you, now you're at the point of no return, which simply means that it is closer to continue on your way than it is to turn around and head back the way you came. Once you get to the point of no return, the halfway point, you're committed to making it the rest of the way. Turning around isn't going to help because all you got below you is sea.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to crash in the ocean. So that makes sense in the movie, which is really where I think that President Nelson got the line from, because he says that he heard the pilot of this little, I think it was a Navajo aircraft, just a small passenger aircraft, not a big airliner like in The High and the Mighty. But they get halfway there and he hears the pilot say, "We've just passed the point of no return." And he says, "I thought that was a strange thing to say." Well, I can understand why you'd think it was a strange thing to say, because it doesn't make any sense for a pilot to say that when he's flying over land with intervening airports.
Yeah. And you'd imagine that the point of no return is actually when you've used up so much fuel that you don't have enough fuel to turn around and return to your taking off point.
You know, I think that is probably the correct definition. I am not a pilot. I just watch movies and listen to talks by President Nelson.
Yeah. Well, everything's a remix. I mean, heaven forbid that President Nelson would use a one-liner from a movie or even anything unoriginal, because as a prophet, seer, and revelator, every word is like unto Moses.
Yes, well, that's why when I listen to anything that President Nelson says, mentally, I always put question marks after it.
Yeah. No. You got it
Isn't
the
that
wrong
what we're
way
supposed
around.
to do? Isn't that what Wendy Nelson said? I thought she said that.
Wendy Nelson was in Europe. No, you know what? They gave a talk to Europe. They gave us a good talking to. But yeah, she stood up and she told us all that world media, these podcasts, books, everything other than what the prophets say, everything you should put a question mark after it and then put an exclamation mark after everything that the prophets say, because RFM, she quote, "The prophets are the standard of truth."
You know, things have changed so much even since I joined the church in the late 70s, because when I joined the church, there were scriptorians that bestrode the world like a colossus. And one of those was Bruce R. McConkie, right?
Yeah.
Now, Bruce R. McConkie really never, I think, had an original idea in his head. Everything he said, and he wrote copiously a number of books. He was quite prolific, but he's really saying the same thing over and over again in all of his books. And what he's doing is he's repeating what his father-in-law, Joseph Fielding Smith, had taught. And Joseph Fielding Smith is basically repeating what his dad, Joseph F. Smith, had taught. So there's this line of thought. And in Mormon Doctrine, have you ever heard of that book?
Mormon Doctrine, yeah. The Stick of Bruce.
Yes. It's very, very clear. What I grew up with was this idea. Yes, we do have prophets on the face of the earth, but they are not untethered from anything else. And in fact, the standard works were considered to be the gold standard for determining truth. And that's in Mormon Doctrine. Of course, he's saying what Joseph Fielding Smith had said as well. But the idea is this, and he says this in there, which is the reason they're called the standard works. Have you ever wondered about that, by the way?
Because they're the standard.
They are the standard, like a ruler, like a yardstick,
Okay.
whatever. They are the standard by which you measure anything else that is said, including statements from prophets. And if a prophet, even the head of the church, I said even there, didn't I? Even the head of the church, if the prophet says something that is not in accord with the standard works, then you can disregard it.
Ooh, now there's some shaky ground to live on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting, isn't it?
yeah, because I'm wearing mixed cotton polyester right now, so you need to go stone me to death, according to Old Testament law. Mixed fabrics, I'm in trouble.
Oh, right, right. Well, I think
Yeah,
I'm going to have a hamburger, a cheeseburger, and a milkshake myself.
yeah. Well, for all
A
these
little
people,
violation of kosher.
yeah, for all the people that get upset at the LGBTQ community because of these Old Testament laws, they really need to take a look at their wardrobe, their fridge freezer, and you know what they're doing throughout the week, because there's a lot of Old Testament laws that they could probably be stoned for as well.
Do you know
So
that deal about cheeseburgers or a hamburger and a milkshake?
no, go on.
Well, there's this Old Testament law. It's talking about that you shall not eat a calf that has been seethed or boiled, seethed in its mother's milk. Do you remember that passage? What?
No,
It's probably
no.
Leviticus or something. But yeah, that was a commandment in the law of Moses. And so that came to be understood as, okay, you don't eat a dairy product or beef, something that comes from a cow. You can't have two of those in any meal, because if you do, if you have a cheeseburger, right, you've got the burger and you've got the cheese. So cheese comes from a cow, burger comes from a cow. And it could possibly be that the cheese might be coming from the mother of the cow that you're eating. Now, it might be old cheese, I don't know. But that could happen. And therefore, okay, I hope I'm not totally
I know.
destroying or misrepresenting the kosher laws of the Jewish religion. But my understanding is that that violates kosher, because you could be violating that commandment from Leviticus about not eating the calf that's been seethed in its mother's milk.
And that will be why, because I knew this. I knew that they kept dairy products and meat products in separate refrigerators,
Oh, okay, yeah.
so that they don't mix.
You don't
So
even want
maybe,
it rubbing off.
yeah,
So this is
maybe
part of
that's
the
the
hedge
reason
that
why.
the part of the hedge that the rabbis or the Jewish scholars built around the law in order to make sure that nobody got anywhere near to where they could violate the law. By the way, going back to the thing about prophets and the standard works, that seemed to have suffered a sea change in 1980 or 81 when Ezra Taft Benson gave his famous talk about the 14 fundamentals of following the prophet. And one of those fundamentals, I can't remember which number it is, it's 1 or 14 or something in between, which is that it is the living prophet who controls. Whatever the living prophet says is what you follow, regardless of whether it contradicts something that a prophet said in the past. Actually, he doesn't say if it contradicts, okay, because I think that would be a bridge too far for him to be that transparent. What he says is living prophets trump dead prophets. And he says, in Noah's day, they built an ark, and that was essential then. But now we follow living prophets regardless of what prior prophets have said. And it occurred to me sometime after that really the only reason that Ezra Taft Benson or anybody would ever make this argument about living prophets trumping dead prophets is because there are occasions where living prophets are contradicting dead prophets. If there were no occasions like that Ezra Taft Benson knew about, then there would be no reason for that fundamental, that particular one of the 14 fundamentals. You don't have to make that rule. Follow the living prophet. Living prophets trump dead prophets unless there was a problem that you knew about that you want to avoid.
You know what? The interesting thing is you've given the black and white there of the living and the dead, but I was asking a TBM family member about this exact issue with regards to the stance on the LGBTQ community and Jeffrey R. Holland's talk,
The Musket speech.
the Muskets, and in their opinion, they're like, "Oh, it's all bluster. It's much ado about nothing." But I said to
Shakespeare.
him, I know. We should have a little ding. But yeah, I've been saving that one. But I said to him, so you sustain the 12 apostles and the first presidency all as prophets, seers, and revelators, and you go by their words. But what about when the prophet that they are contradicting is still alive? For instance, Dallin H. Oakes, when he speaks about, there's a quote about him saying that if you have a child who is gay, you can let them know that they're welcome to bring their partner over, but they can't stay for the night, and don't even think you're going to come out to a restaurant with us. Or when he speaks about not letting homosexuals have any position of influence in the media. And that, have you not seen that quote?
Oh yeah, that was from his memo that he did back in the 1980s,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, but there are all these things that the prophets that now stand up and are saying we must love, we must be inclusive, and we have LDS.org or gaylds.org, and all of these things from the prophets today, but they're contradicting themselves. So there becomes another section there of which ones do you believe? Do you believe Dallin H. Oakes from 2022 or Dallin H. Oakes from 1982? Because they're two very different prophets.
Yes. Well, Mormonism is an interesting institution in that truth is determined not by what is said, but by who says it. It makes no difference really what they're talking about. The important thing is to figure out who it is who said it, and then do this mental exercise of trying to figure out, okay, who has the most seniority? Now, we know if they're alive, they definitely trump the ones who are dead. That's easy. But like you say, this makes it a little bit more challenging, because then you start saying, okay, well, he was only an apostle when he said that. He wasn't the president of the church. And then you start saying, okay, well, this person had more seniority than that person, and therefore the person with more seniority is the person that we're going to listen to, because they've got more of a clue about what truth is than this other person. And it's a very interesting phenomenon. How do you come down on that?
I think that it's all codswallop. And
that is a great word, codswallop.
Yes. That's a very polite English way of saying it's BS. But yes,
is it bollocks?
It's all bollocks, mate. that's it's absolute bollocks, isn't it?
No, I will tell you my personal feeling, and I don't have anything else to base this on, is that when Elder Oak says something about, don't have your gay son overnight at your house with his companion, and don't expect us to take you out to dinner because we don't want to be seen with you publicly, because other people might think that I support you. That, I think, is probably the more authentic feelings of Elder Oaks. Now, a person certainly can change over time. I know I've changed over time, so maybe he's changed over time. But based upon what I've seen with Elder Oaks, I think that he knows what presents better to the public. Yes. And so when he is in public, he will say things that he knows he should say, even though my impression is that he doesn't really believe it. He still has those old feelings that he expressed, and which are still available in an interview on the church website.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. On the church website now, they've started putting a caveat at the beginning of some of these talks from old ensigns to say that the issues or the language in the talk is from another time. Let's give poor Joseph a break. But that they, that doesn't count today. And then it gives links to more recent versions of whether it's a talk on the family where the apostle is saying that the woman should be in the home tied to the cooker in the kitchen sink, and that's her place to bear children and populate worlds without number.
She bears children in the kitchen?
It's been known.
Well, I've heard about a bun in the oven.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. An interesting thing though is Jeffrey R. Holland. So we've had for a few months now, starting in October here in the UK and Europe, we've had a lot of visitors of apostles coming to save us from our heathen ways here in Europe. Now, Jeffrey R. Holland mentioned something during his visit because there was no auto cue for these guys on this occasion.
When you say auto cue, are you talking about a screen, a teleprompter?
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
there was no so at general conference it is well rehearsed and
Yes.
they do it very well. You know, it's a Hollywood production. The guys who get up and the sisters who get up to speak, they know exactly which camera to look in at which time. They follow the little arrows and they read it very well. But the, three apostles, Holland, Ballard, and Cook, came with their wives and spoke over 3 sessions, and they spoke in a chapel in London. So it was just a chapel with cameras set up, so no teleprompters. They were just riffing, and they were awful. They basically said, "We're really old, and we're still traveling the world to tell people about this, so it must be true. We know a lot of things that you don't know, so trust us." And then Jeffrey O. Holland did this amazing thing, and he said that Elder Ballard, Elder Cook, all their wives, and RFM have made it. They get a free pass. They get this permanent pass to heaven. Um, and we can only assume that he was referencing the second anointing there, which is interesting because you'd never get that in general conference.
No, never. And by the way, let me tell you, it's great.
Is
It's
it
great to have
fantastic?
that assurance because then I don't have to worry about anything anymore.
No, you can come and
Um,
do things like this and they can't touch you.
I did see that actually, and I saw it before the church made Nemo take it down.
Yeah.
It was absolutely stunning what Elder Holland did, which is he went from one gaffe to another in short order. And the first thing he starts talking about is Elder Ballard, or as you say, Ballard, Elder Ballard, and how old he is,
Yeah.
right? And then all of a sudden he starts realizing, oh, crap, I shouldn't be talking about my boss that way or the senior guy up the totem pole. And so he starts saying, oh, well, he's really active and we have a hard time keeping up with him, you know, because he's just so dang gung-ho, even though he's along in years. And then he starts talking about how, you know, he doesn't even have to be here. He doesn't have to be doing this, you
No.
know, guys. You should be really grateful that he's here because he doesn't have to be coming over here and talking to you. But he does it not because it's going to be of any benefit to him. Now, this is where he's trying to really try and get you to really appreciate what they've done by coming over here. So you'll be sort of overawed by their presence and they're putting themselves out for you guys. And he says, yeah, he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for you because
No.
he doesn't need to do it for himself.
He didn't
He's
need
got the what?
didn't need to come on holiday for 2 weeks to Britain and visit all these lovely places, you know, spend all that tithing money. Didn't need to.
Didn't need to because he doesn't need to because he has got his salvation taken care of a long time ago. And now he realizes that he has said this about Elder Ballard, and there's other people up there on the stand too. There's Elder Cook, right?
Yeah.
And there's Elder Cook's wife, and there's Elder Holland's wife. Now, Elder Ballard's wife, I think, has passed away, so he's not talking about her. But he says, oh, well, it's not just Elder Ballard who's taking care of his salvation a long time ago, not just him, but also Elder Cook and Elder Cook's wife and my wife. And then he realizes, well, me too, but I'm not going to talk about me because I'm not supposed to talk about me. It is so funny because he realizes he goes from step to step, from gaff to gaff, and now he's talking about the second anointing. And he's talking about with these other people. He gets to himself. He realizes, oh, crap, how have I gotten myself in this position? I'm not supposed to be talking about this. And so then he goes and does a very rough segue. He tries to pull up that Navajo that's spiraling down toward the ground. It's about ready to hit and crash and break up upon contact. And he tries to pull it up in the most awkward segue into something else that has nothing to do with it. but you got to get away from that. I thought that was the most entertaining part of the entire trip.
Yeah, another good one was that he was trying to say where Elder Ballard, how do you say it? Ballard,
Ballard.
Elder Ballard, would
Ballard.
rather be, and he said he'd rather be in Brighton on a sandy beach in a deck chair, or that would be a nice place to be. Brighton is the gay capital of the UK with a pebble beach.
Is
So
it?
he was trying to endear himself to us by coming up with some little, oh, Brighton. Yeah, we know Brighton. He doesn't know Brighton. Like, Brighton is the gay capital. Yeah.
So if he was over here in the United States, it would be the equivalent of him saying that Elder Ballard would rather be in San Francisco in a
Yeah.
bathhouse.
Yeah. Basically. And we all just died laughing.
Did you mention that in your review?
Yeah. Yeah. It comes up.
I must have forgotten that part. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It was one where I think all the English or British ex-Mormons were just like, did he seriously just do that? It's like me coming to Utah and saying, just picking a place on the map that looks like it's on the edge of a lake and saying, oh yeah, I'd really like to go and relax by Utah Lake with my feet in the water, not knowing that it's highly polluted and will probably melt the skin off of my feet. But it'd be a really nice day because I've chosen that point on the map to make it look like I know where I am and what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Going for a swim in the Hudson River.
Yes. Yeah. But aeroplanes like skimming that Sullinger. Yeah. But I will put a link to the TikTok of Jeffrey R. Holland making that gaff in the description below, so that if anyone who hasn't seen it wants to see it, you can watch it in all of its glory. Okay. Now then, RFM. We wanted to leave the listener or viewer with something tangible to go and chew on. And I've come up with what I think is a nice little kind of light touch on a topic which I think is not spoken about enough. And that, my friend, I think the key words for this would be Kolob, flat earth, and Kane swam around for 9 months whilst he waited for the floodwaters to recede.
He's the world champion wader.
Yeah.
Or water treader. Water treader. That's it. Treading water.
Yeah, because it couldn't have been, it must have been deep enough because everyone obviously drowned.
Well, there's actually a lively debate on whether it was that because Kane can't be killed, so he can't drown. So maybe he was just sort of walking along the ocean bottom during that time.
Wow. That's
with an exclusively seafood diet.
Yeah. The seaweed. But after I left the church, I thought to myself, I bought my kids action figures of the Ark, of the, when I say action figures, I mean just little kids' toys of the Ark and the animals and everything, so they could load them up and they could push them around. And I'm like, is there any other genocide in the world that we make children's toys of and hand them out or write nursery rhymes and books about? Because as a believing Mormon, you believe or should believe that it was a literal global flood and that God killed everyone, including small children who were playing football in the alley or whatever. I considered writing an account of a child who was like, oh yeah, it started to rain and then it rained a lot. And then I'm told that my mum's not been very good, so that's why it's raining. And then we saw this big boat come past, but they wouldn't pick us up. It was really weird because the guy who was on the boat was supposed to be a really nice guy. And he was the one that came and told us all how to be a good guy and how to love everyone. But he won't pick us up, and he's got this really big boat. Yeah.
Yes, and the final words of the story are blub, blub, blub.
So, on that note, let's get to Kolob. Not literally, because it's a long way away.
We can hide there if you want.
What does that even mean? If you could hide to Kolob, do you know what the English origin of highing to something is?
I bet it has more to do with your country than mine, but I think it
Oh,
means to go, to travel.
okay.
Are you
Well,
looking it up?
no,
Okay.
I'm not. If you want to look it up, I am just pulling
No, I
up.
don't want to look it up because if I
No,
look it up, I might be wrong. And if I don't look it up, then I can pretend I'm right.
no, fair enough. I am just trying to pull up an image. So we're going to talk quickly or briefly about this book, The Kolob Theorem by Lynn M. Hilton, PhD. So the Kolob theorem
Oh, by the way, it
theorizes.
means to go quickly.
Oh, yes. So if we could go quickly to Kolob
Yes.
in an instant by the power of thought, at the speed of thought, that's to be that's how we'll all be able to move around, isn't it? At the speed of thought.
Yeah, I
And
hope so.
as I've been thinking about the Kolob theorem, there are a few things that don't make sense to me anymore.
Have you explained what the Kolob theorem is yet to the audience?
We're about to do that.
Sorry.
So it's okay.
I was
Okay.
looking up a word.
So RFM checked out for a minute there. It's okay. I do it all the time with my wife. And generally you can style it out, but you failed that time. The Kolob theorem is the theory that the Earth, in its celestial glory, originated as a new Earth near Kolob, which is at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Okay, you got me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from our current position on Earth, we cannot see the center of the Milky Way galaxy because there is a dust cloud that covers it. So Earth passed through this dust cloud, or as the theory puts, the veil, and passed into the terrestrial zone of the Milky Way galaxy. Now, there was a point at which we fell from the terrestrial zone to the telestial zone, and that was at the point that Eve partook of the fruit and the fall. Now, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, do you think that Eve was like, Adam, I've looked at the stars and we're not quite in the right place in the Milky Way galaxy, so I'm gonna put off eating that fruit for another week or so, because I kind of think that the theodolite doesn't lie, and we just need to be a little bit further past Orion.
Well, Orion wouldn't even be Orion from the original location, would it?
No, but that was a constellation that came to mind.
No, this kind of theory, which I think, I've certainly heard of it back in the 80s when I was doing all my studies in Mormonism. And I know that it comes from a very literal take that Brigham Young made about the fall, where he talked about it being a literal fall of the planet from near God. I don't know that he said the center of the galaxy, but near Kolob to its location now, that there was a fall, not just of mankind, but of the planet itself, which kind of makes sense because we talked about the flood being the baptism of the earth, right? So, of course,
Yeah,
the earth has a fall, it has a baptism. It's going
yeah,
to receive the gift of the Holy Ghost when Jesus comes again and burns it all up. So there's this personification of the earth. Even in Moses, it cries out because of all the wickedness of the men that are on it
yeah,
right before the flood. And, but yeah, this is the kind of thing it leads to, something that is, I don't want to be rude, but, well, let's say it strains credulity. All
okay,
right. I won't say it's ridiculous, but it seems pretty unlikely. How's that?
yeah.
But that's the kind of literalism that Mormonism engenders.
Yeah, so the Earth is on a journey from Kolob in the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which you can't see but can actually see in the infrared. So got kind of screwed up there because his veil doesn't veil infrared. So
Dang it. I
it
think they made a
moves.
Star Trek movie about this, didn't they?
Yeah, No, I'm not. I'm not a Star Trek fan, unfortunately. You have to
Really? It's where the
educate
line
me.
comes from. What does God need with a starship? Do you know that?
No.
Okay, I haven't watched this movie a lot, like Star Trek 2, which I've watched like 100 times, but this is maybe 6. I think it's called The Undiscovered Country. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, there is a being, or it's a Vulcan or something, that they're following to find God. And they go to the center of the universe and they land on this planet, and there's this big being, and it's actually a projection, sort of like the Wizard of Oz, right? There's a big projection, and this man with, I don't know, beard and long hair and everything. And he has he's so happy, this big God, we'll just call him God, that they finally found him. And he says, okay, now I want you to beam me aboard your starship and then take me out into the universe, because we got to spread this great message of love and kindness and the gospel to everybody in the universe. And McCoy and Spock and the other guy, the other Vulcan, are just enwrapped with this. I mean, they can't believe that they've actually found God, and he's talking to him. And Kirk's back there. Kirk says, he raises his hand and he says, excuse me, what does God need with a starship? So he pierces right through the fact that this is not God. This is an alien creature who's trying to escape from this planet and can't do it on his own, and probably doesn't have the best intentions in what he's going to do once he leaves this planet. And after that, things start falling apart and the earth starts shaking. And I can't remember what happens, but I think they make it out of there alive.
Okay. Well, it's almost, you want to say, what does Rusty need with $150 billion?
Yes.
Because he's certainly not doing anything with it. But a side note, apparently fair Mormons say now that $150 billion is for the millennium. Because,
Well, sure, because that's when we're going to need all that money.
yeah, of course, because all these corporations, these evil corporations that we have to pay money to, will still be here. Will they? I don't know. It's kind of broken thinking. But
I
back
know,
to the Kolob
especially since so
theorem.
much of it is stocks in companies.
Yeah, because at what point are they going to cash in? Because surely at the millennium, all the stocks will be worth nothing. So
Yeah, I got a feeling that the value is going to drop down to zero for most corporations, except for one.
yeah, but who's going to cash them in?
That's
You know what I mean?
that's the problem. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think that in your 72-hour pack, the best things to have are some alcohol for trading, cigarettes for trading, narcotics, all of the things that, when I say narcotics, I mean like painkillers,
I noticed when
antivirals.
you said narcotics, you didn't say for trading.
Yes. We had a state young men's president who, when 9/11 happened, he was in the Middle East. He was in the RAF, and they had to get back to the aircraft carrier, and they had to go through some checkpoints in hostile territory, and they got through them with cigarettes and alcohol, as in
Mm-hmm.
they traded their way through by giving the guys cigarettes and alcohol. So
Right. There are certain items that have intrinsic value regardless of any monetary system.
yeah, I mean, who's going to be absolutely gasping 6 months after Jesus comes, especially if it's Mormon Jesus? Then everyone's going to need Jack Daniels. It'll be worth more than gold. So
When you said gasping, were you making reference to the idiom that our friends across the pond have for cigarettes? Gaspers?
gaspers,
Have you
I
never
have
heard of a gasper being a
no,
name for a cigarette?
no, we call them fags.
I know. Yes, I'm going to go out and light up a fag. They did that with Abinadi, I think. Let me see here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All I'm saying is because it says in the Book of Mormon that they took, they took burning faggots and put them against his body, and he died that way. So let
Faggots
me
are
just see.
actually a really nice meal.
It is really.
Yeah, here in the UK, it's kind of a beef, almost like a big meatball in beef and onion gravy, and yeah, really nice.
Okay, Google is my friend. So a gasper, noun, a person who gasps. Also, British old fashioned slang for a cheap cigarette.
Wow. I guarantee if I went out on the street and asked someone for a Gasper, they'd probably like give me a Chelsea smile.
This is like when I was talking with Nemo and I'm using all these English idioms and references, and he's looking at me like I'm from outer space.
Gasper, love it.
It's a gaspa. I'm
Yeah.
going to go outside and have a gaspa.
Or another good one that we're trying to spread far and wide is cockwomble.
Cockwomble?
Yeah. So
What's that?
it's a nice English insult that we give to people. If kind of like you're an idiot, you're a fool, you're a cockwomble. And here in the UK, a womble, there was like a children's TV show called The Wombles, and they were kind of like these little hedgehog people who would go around picking up litter on Wimbledon Common. And we all watched it as kids. It was like a recycling, to get you to pick up litter and put it in the bin and different things. So the image that goes around is an image of, on the bottom it's a cock, as in a cockerel, and then the top half is the top half of one of these hedgehog people, a womble. If you call someone a cockwomble, it is not very nice.
What is a cockerel again?
A cockerel.
It's not a spaniel.
No, it's a
No, it's a
male.
cocker spaniel. I'm sorry. It's a male, but rooster?
Yeah.
I guess that's redundant.
A rooster.
Because a rooster is by definition male.
Yeah. So a cockerel is, it's not a male rooster. It's a male chicken.
Right, a male chicken.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had earlier said something about don't cock it up.
Don't cock it up.
That's an English idiom, isn't it?
Yeah, cocking it up.
It's like don't goof it up.
Yeah, or taking the piss.
Well, we do that over here. But
Yeah.
does that mean something over there in England different than it does over here?
Taking the piss. It just means you're taking the mickey out of someone.
I'm sorry, you're doing what? You're taking what out?
The mickey.
You're taking your Mickey out and taking a piss?
No, so if you're taking if you're taking the piss,
Okay.
it means you're making fun of someone. You're taking the piss out of them. So you're making fun of them. Or you could say a more polite way of saying it is to take the mickey out of someone. Don't ask
this
me
is
why.
really fascinating, I think. Actually, I think it's more fascinating than the audience maybe. We have an expression over here that says, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Yes, that's a good one. I do like that. And if we get back to Kolob,
Kolob.
We're all over the place here, which is fantastic because we're just spitballing right now. But we should finish the point we started on, because
there was a point. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I apologize, audience members, if you're like, well, we want to hear what happened to the Earth. So the Earth came out into the outer arms of the Milky Way, where we are now, which is a celestial world. And then outside of the Milky Way is outer darkness. And then at the millennium, there will be parts of the Earth that are cast off into outer darkness with bad people on it. And then the Earth will travel back to be celestialized in the middle of the Milky Way. I think that's a lovely fairy tale.
It's wonderful. So outer darkness is beyond the radiation field?
Yeah. So
is it the radiation belt? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Literally in darkness. Oh, you want about the belt that surrounds the Earth, which is
the belt that surrounds the entire universe. It's the Big Bang, and it's been expanding.
Yeah.
And so the field of the radiation is look. Science is not my forte.
No, I know. Okay? I know exactly what you're on about. It's the background magnetic.
Yes.
No, we're just talking about the Milky Way galaxy, because within the universe, inside that radiation field, there are billions of galaxies, and those other galaxies are other gods.
Absolutely. I mean, what else could it be?
Yeah. So you'll get one day too.
Well, I hope it's gift wrapped.
Worlds without number, apparently.
That would take a lot of gift wrap to gift wrap a galaxy, I think.
Gift wrap a galaxy. Don't you wonder sometimes if we are just like really small in comparison to another Earth where they're really big, and that in our frame of reference, everything's okay. But like we look at ants as being really small, and that on another world there might be people that are just really really big, and would look at us and kind of like the micro scale, and the aliens are watching us now, and as a science experiment, and just being like, man, why do they keep hating each other because of their imaginary friends?
I remember having a thought like that in ninth grade, actually, which is the solar system has the sun and all the planets going around it. And that's kind of like an atom. So maybe all the solar systems are atoms, and there are millions and billions of atoms that create something that is like a piece of pavement or a leaf of grass in another world that's so much bigger than ours that we are nothing but inhabitants of an electron going around a nucleus in an atom. Had you ever thought of that?
Yes, and it brings us back to Men in Black with Orion's belt. Have you seen Men in Black?
I have, but it's been a long time. Was there something
It's
about Orion's belt in it?
Yeah, there's Orion is the cat, and on the collar there's a marble, and inside that marble are other galaxies and universes. Um, and that's kind of they're all tiny, but to them they're really big, but they're inside this marble that's on a cat in our world. So crazy, crazy days.
All I want to
Okay,
say is my ninth grade was way before Men in Black came out.
you're the original, you're the OG. There's a
Yeah, I might
Nobel
have to
Prize.
sue him for copyright infringement.
You get Will Smith on the blower.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, I think.
Yes. What
The
a movie
waters
that.
above the firmament.
Yes. So I wanted to look briefly at this absolute cracker. So a lot of Mormons don't understand is that Mormon doctrine and a lot of phraseology within Mormonism, like the foundations of heaven, windows of heaven, pillars of heaven, the foundations of the earth, all come from the old Hebrew concept of flat earth. And that a lot of these things that happen within the mythology of the Bible, like the flood, work with a flat Earth, but don't work with what we know to be globe theory these days. But it wasn't just the Hebrews; it was the Greeks, Sumerians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Vikings, and the Hebrews believed in this flat Earth, and that Mormons do too in a way, because we have in the Book of Moses, fantastic Book of Moses, where Joseph tries to rewrite what was already a bestseller, where he starts to speak about the waters above the firmament. And then when they're speaking about the floods, they've got the waters from the great deep coming up through the earth and covering the mountains, etc. So on the screen now, we have a nice representation of this Hebrew concept of the universe and of flat Earth, and we've got the underworld. Sheol was a watery or dusty prison from which no one returned, and it's
Thunderdome.
this yeah, it's this whole thing of going down to hell or going up to heaven.
You could even say it's the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns.
Yes. Or you could say that it's the it's the inside of the shell, the turtle that the Earth is on that's floating through the universe. That's another concept that people have come up with. But all of these things, the firmament, the windows of heaven, the windows of heaven will open and blessings will pour down upon you. It all comes from this flat earth theory, this language that is used many a times in general conferences and different things. I just thought it was interesting to flash that one up, because how many times as a member of the church did you find things that the church believes that you just thought were either ridiculous or just you were like, oh, I didn't know we believed that.
Right. I think the tendency, and we do hear windows of heaven a lot because it's the Malachi chapter 3, I think it is,
Mhm.
passage that talks about tithing. Bring all the
Yes.
tithes into my house, that there may be meat in mine house, and I will open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing so great that there shall not be room enough to receive it, I think is how it goes. Yeah, we take it sort of metaphorically or poetically and not realize that the author of that is talking about literal windows of heaven, which are opened because that's the mechanics of how it rains. There's all that water up there above the firmament, and there are windows in the firmament that are open from time to time, no doubt by angels, in order to allow precipitation down upon the earth.
Yeah, clouds are just decoration.
And they're a nice decoration. I mean, I've looked at clouds from both sides now.
Well, the clouds are there to stop you seeing the faces of the angels when the windows open.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Yeah, I just came up with that. Like that could be a proper thing. General conference. The clouds are there.
Well, it's like that dust cloud in the Milky Way.
Yes, there for a reason, but not quite effective.
Right.
Yeah, but this makes sense though, where all the water went, because the global flood to cover the tops of the highest mountains, because he had to get it right above Everest because everyone was going to be scaling Everest to escape the floodwaters, right? Without oxygen and different things, he had to get it above that.
Right. And if you look at this diagram that you have, which is a really excellent representation of the ancients' view of the earth and the cosmos, when you look at Genesis, right, this is also what's going on in the creation account, because the creation account accounts for how it is that the cosmos ended up looking this way. And it all starts off with all this water together upon the face of the earth. And then, if I'm
Yes.
remembering my Genesis correctly, there is a division that happens. God creates in Genesis by separating or dividing things. So he separates the water from the water below from the water above. And that's what gives us this atmosphere and this land on which we live.
Yeah, it's the envelope in which to survive. And the foundations of heaven. I never realized that the foundations of heaven in flat earth theory are the South Pole, the ice wall that goes around.
There you lost me. What?
If you look at the representation, you've got the firmament, and the firmament stands upon the foundations of heaven.
Right. But then you said something about the poles.
In modern flat earth theory.
Modern flat earth theory. Okay, that's the part that I missed.
The South Pole is all the way around the world as an ice wall that is impenetrable. So if you took modern flat earth theory and put it into this, that would say that the foundations of heaven are that ice wall. Back to Game of Thrones.
Oh, well, winter is coming.
Yeah, we've come full circle. Smashing it. Okay, awesome. Well, before we let you go, I promised a test.
Oh, geez. Okay. This is a pop quiz. I hate pop quizzes.
I know. I didn't warn you about this at all. I apologize, but I thought, you're so good at them. So some of them are like, you'll be like, really? You didn't think I'd know that?
I hope there's at least one of those.
Let's take a look. So I'll just go back so you can see me and not the horse's backside.
I'm having trouble telling the difference.
Thank you.
That was so rude of me, and I'm a guest. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
You know what? I thought the same thing. So
I can't resist a good straight line. It's one of my many weaknesses.
Okay, first up, we'll go for an easy one. No,
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing at myself. Go ahead.
It's okay.
Okay.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
No. Oh, no. What are you saying? Am I supposed to say that that's from Dirty Dancing or something?
Yes, congratulations.
Dirty Dancing.
Thank you. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I don't give a damn. Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
Not the last line in the movie, but the last line that Clark Gable has before he leaves.
Fantastic. He's looking at you, kid.
Here's looking at you, kid. We'll always have Paris. Play it, Sam. If she can stand it, so can I. Casablanca.
Casablanca. Okay. Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to
Trying to
seduce me.
seduce me. The Graduate,
Aren't
Dustin
you?
Hoffman to Anne Bancroft.
Wow, you are unflappable. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Oh my gosh. You know, that was actually a line that was ad-libbed in the movie Jaws by Roy Scheider.
Really?
Yeah, playing Chief Brody.
Yeah, I saw there was a quiz on UK television not so long ago, and one of the questions was, "What is the line?" And I thought it was, "We're gonna need a bigger boat."
I get that wrong all the time.
Yeah,
You're going to need a bigger boat. He's on the boat, but yeah, you're
I
going to need
know.
a bigger boat.
Okay.
That's right. When he's back, he's chumming, doing this mindless chum. You know what chumming is?
Yeah. They're putting the guts and the blood in the water to attract the shark.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it
all
comes
of a
along
sudden,
and it's too big.
the head comes up and he goes, he's backing
Yeah.
up. You're going to need a bigger boat. He's the only one who sees it.
Yeah. Couple more. Mama always had a way of explaining things so I could understand them. Ooh.
Mama always had a way of explaining things so I could understand them.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing that even comes to it's not familiar. The only thing that comes to mind is possibly Psycho, but I don't know.
No, that one's Forrest Gump.
Oh, Oh, really? Okay. Well, I didn't know that one.
Okay. Oh, I feel like we got.
What is the one from Psycho where Anthony Perkins says, "A mother is a boy's best friend"? I think that's the line. Do you know the movie Psycho?
Yes.
Okay, great movie.
Yeah.
I think it came out the year I was born.
Really?
I think so.
You're not that old.
Oh, I'm older.
No.
It's not the years, darling. It's the mileage. What movie is that from?
No idea.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay. Well, this one. Final one. You know what?
I didn't get Forrest Gump. You know the line I like the most from Forrest Gump is when his girlfriend, what is it? She had this horrible childhood, and she's out in front of the house, and she's grown, and he's grown, and she's sitting there, she's throwing rocks at the house.
Yes.
Because she's so, just crazy mad and upset about everything. And then she exhausts herself, sits down, and Forrest says to her, "Some days there just aren't enough rocks."
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a great line.
I enjoy the one where he's running, everyone's running with him, and a car comes past and splashes excrement on his face. He takes a t-shirt from someone and rubs his face off, and it comes off with this Jesus type image. And someone says to him, "What do you do when that happens?" And he's just like, "Well, shit happens." And it's like on bumper stickers now forever. Because the guy, he waltzes through life and is a success at everything that he does, even when he doesn't mean to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's like Rusty. So last one. I ate his liver with some fava
beans and a nice Chianti.
Yes.
Silence of the Radio Free Mormons.
Silence of the Radio Free Mormons. Silence of the Lambs. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I think that kind of rounds us off nicely to have basked in your glory as you didn't get the Forrest Gump one, but I think you did pretty well. There are a lot of them that I wouldn't have got. So
well, thank you, because I'm going to obsess for the rest of the day on the Forrest Gump one that I didn't get, because that's my personality type.
Yeah, you have to go watch it tonight. I'll send you the link to the quiz. There's some pretty good ones if you want to just randomly have a look and check your knowledge.
What, you mean there's more?
Yeah, I could go on for say hello to my little friend. Say hello to my little friend.
Say hello to my little friend, Al Pacino, Scarface.
Nobody owes nobody nothing.
Wow, nobody owes nobody nothing. I don't know, but we all deserve it. Go ahead.
That's Rocky.
Nobody owes nobody nothing? That's Rocky?
Yeah, apparently.
You know the line I know from Rocky?
Go on.
By the way, Brent Metcalf, I'm sure, could do a great Sylvester Stallone with his deep voice. Yo, Paulie, your sister's at my place.
We've got a kid that plays on my son's soccer team. I'll say soccer, even though it pains me. And he's called Adrian. And every time I see him with the ball, I want to be like, Adrian!
Adrian, I did it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, last one then.
1976.
Yes, sir, boss. Like the drink, only spelled the same.
The Green Mile.
Yes. Oh, I didn't think you were going to get that.
Seems coffee.
Yes.
His last name was Coffee.
Only spelled the same.
Right.
Great.
Well, we'll end with that one. It's not going to get any better than that, folks.
No. Thank you so much for your time, for getting up early to be with us here on UK time. So you're an early bird, but I think you definitely caught the worm. But you know what?
Yes.
That deserves a.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'll be here all week. Try the fish.
No, you've been amazing. If just to the audience out there, wherever you are listening to this, please leave a review. If you feel you can support Radio Free Mormon, Priesthood Dispatches, then there will be links in the description below of where you can go to support the podcast. It does take time, does take effort, even though it may have seemed absolutely effortless for the last hour. But thank you for listening.
You bet. The great ones make it look easy.
And the not so great ones make it look like this. And on that note, thank you. Good night. Everyone have a good one. See ya.
Bye-bye.